Alrighty, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Nate. I also go by Hockey Boy Nate, and I was gonna upload this video a little bit sooner, but then I had a pretty bad bloody nose, so had to postpone it a little bit, and now here I am. So we're gonna be talking about the severe weather. It's now starting to come a bit more into sight as to what exactly we are going to see. So if you're new to my channel, I usually go by a set of 3 steps in regards to forecasting weather in general. First step is, all right, is there going to be severe thunderstorms and where are they going to be at? Second step is, all right, well, around what conditions could we see? Could we see some severe wind? Could we see some severe hail? Could we see some tornadoes? That's the second step. Third step is, how bad will each risk get? All right, so right now we're for today's risk, we're on that third step. Tomorrow we're kind of on that third step, but on Wednesday and Thursday we're on that second step ish. So and then we're also going to be talking about some severe weather that'll be impacting us later on this weekend. So yeah, stick around for this entire video because we have a lot to talk about. So please be sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe if you're new, turn on notifications, share this with friends and family and on social media, as well as join all my social medias. I'm going to be updating my links in the description, so that way people will be able to see what stuff they can join. That will include my Twitter, Instagram, my Discord server, which we actually fixed so that if people who couldn't get in before, they now can actually get in. That's, you kind of need people to get in, Nathan. If it's not open, you can't really allow them to come in. You know, I understand that, and I'm sorry. And then also my Twitch. I probably will be live streaming tonight, maybe. I don't exactly know because my father usually brings a bunch of stupid stuff along, so yeah. Anyways, lightning round. We're gonna get through this convective outlook from day 1 through 3 with the Storm Prediction Center, which is something that we look through every single day. And first one, slight risk. That's mainly over southwestern parts of Minnesota into central parts of Minnesota, as well as our marginal that extends from Nebraska all the way up through South Dakota into Iowa and even into Wisconsin and Michigan. Personally, I don't really have a lot of faith in this event whatsoever. There is a lot of limiting factors here to even prevent thunderstorms from initiating. So I guess this is really just one of those things where they put some preliminary threats out there just in case if something goes bad. And then there was, if you were here for my video yesterday, there was actually a marginal risk for the people over in Amarillo and Lubbock. That has now been downgraded to a general thunderstorm risk, mainly because of all the capping inversion over there. So you guys could see some general thunderstorms, but in my honest opinion, they won't be all too severe. The risks are as follows. 15% chance for hail, as well as your 5% that extends in Nebraska. So you either have a 5 or a 15% chance of you seeing 1-inch size hail or larger within 25 miles of a point. You also have your 5 and 15% chance of you seeing winds over 58 miles per hour within 25 miles of a point. This is going to surprise most of y'all, because most of you guys will be like, oh, well, it's a slight risk. There has to be a tornado risk. No, there isn't. As a matter of fact, most of the events here this weekend is looking pretty shaky for tornadoes. A lot of people have been saying, oh, there's going to be like strong tornadoes and stuff like that. And there is a possibility, maybe like later on in the week, but not with these beginner events. These beginner events are really kind of just garbage. So day 1 outlook, as I said, slight risk for places like Minneapolis, Bloomington, Plymouth, Brooklyn Park, Eden Prairie, and then a marginal for places like St. Paul, Sioux Falls, Rochester, Minnesota, Duluth, and Sioux City in Iowa. All right, moving on to day 2 here. And we still have our nice little slight risk here. Slight risk, which contains places like Wichita, Olaf, Lawrence, Joplin, and Salina. I also don't really have a lot of faith in this risk as well. And by the way, I want to say this real quickly. There's some other there's some other weather YouTubers out there. I'm not going to name names, but they're saying that there's going to be this giant severe weather outbreak in Oklahoma on whatever day this is. This is what, Tuesday? I just want to say right now, that is looking very untrue. And I said that yesterday, that it's almost untrue. All right, if you look at the events a little bit more, you will actually see that limiting factor is still in place. That limiting factor doesn't go away. It doesn't disappear. All right, you need some other things in order to take that out. And the fact that people are not looking at that, and the fact that people are trying to say, oh, there's a giant severe weather outbreak that's going to take place in Oklahoma. Please, do me a favor. Please. I want to try and help out people. You're not helping. As if our credibility wasn't good enough. Please. Come on. It's not just one person, it's multiple. Come on. Please. Anyways. Yes, there's a marginal risk in Oklahoma. But the reason why there's a marginal risk over there is because that limiting factor is the strongest over there. It actually will kill thunderstorms. The minute one forms, it gets sent back to where it came from. Gone. So just stop, please. The slight risk I'm a little interested in because it has less of it. So, slight risk, Kansas, northern Oklahoma, western or southwestern Missouri, into places like Joplin and those areas. Not exactly Springfield, because Springfield's a bit too far east. But Joplin, you guys are in the slight risk there. Marginal extends from southwestern parts of Iowa into western parts of Missouri, into southeastern parts of Nebraska, much of Kansas, and a bit of Oklahoma, as well as northwestern Arkansas. The risks are as follows. 15% chance for hail, which, as I mentioned before, whether you have a 5 or 15, that probability of 1-inch size hail or larger within 25 miles of a point. 15% chance for wind. As I said, whether you have a 5 or 15 within the last risk, you still have that probability of you seeing 58 mile per hour winds or larger within 25 miles of a point. This is where it gets a little bit interesting because I kind of agree with this. A 2% chance for tornadoes. Notice how it's barely in Oklahoma. Notice how it's barely in Oklahoma. All right? I know this is the day 2 outlook, but notice how they didn't include most of Oklahoma. I agree with it being into Nebraska, by the way, because there is a lot less capping inversions, a higher chance of thunderstorms forming up there. They won't be as strong as the ones that could form in Kansas, but my goodness, that's just 2% chance for tornadoes for places like Wichita, Salina, Grand Island, Hutchinson, and Kearney. So, please keep that in mind. Then you also have your slight risk in the Ozarks, and I love how a lot of people in a couple of my videos are saying, "Oh, there's not gonna be severe weather in the Ozarks." This is just a video of me yelling at people, isn't it? This is the content you come for. Here's your severe weather in the Ozarks, right here. There it is. Your slight risk that contains places like Memphis, Shreveport, Little Rock, Jackson, and Longview. It also contains Monroe. So, here it is. I'm just kidding. You also have your marginal risk. I said before that there is also the potential for severe weather into places like Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, Kentucky, Tennessee. Here's your marginal risk. That circle was terrible, but here's your marginal risk. It just so happens that it includes those areas. So right now, my long-range predictions have been pretty good so far this year. Last year, they were kind of iffy. This year, I'm pretty proud of myself. I'm not going to lie. Getting better, getting better, getting better. So yeah, southern Louisiana is within this risk, as well as places near Biloxi But if you're too far east of Biloxi, then you might not get a whole lot. And then some other places near Tupelo. Actually, Tupelo might be in the slight risk. It's kind of on the border. Birmingham, you guys aren't in the risk yet. That'll most likely be on Thursday. Thursday will most likely get that. You guys will get that severe weather event. But it will most likely stay within places just to the west of Nashville, near Paducah, near St. Louis, near Jefferson City. Those areas could definitely see some severe weather. There is not anything in the day 4 outlook. They're saying the predictability is too low, but I'm still saying, or at least you'll see why I'm still going to say that severe weather will still, most likely be in northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, northern Georgia into Tennessee. Or at least that's where I think the worst part is going to be. All right, let's go day by day. Day 1. This is the slight risk in Minnesota. Just for refreshers, that's what we're looking at right here, this risk. So, I said that I didn't have a lot of confidence in this event, and we're going to play it through here. This is the North American model. I would use the HRRR, but unfortunately, there's a lot of downtime for pivotal weather. I love pivotal weather. Not saying you guys need to hurry it up, but please, I love this website. I need it back up. But yeah, this is a 0Z, which is around 7 o'clock in the evening, and there's some scattered thunderstorms. That's just some scattered thunderstorms there, but that's it. That's it. Why aren't there any thunderstorms? Well, that's a good question. It's a very good question, actually. What I'm about to do is I'm about to take a sample as to what this model thinks the environment is going to be. And I'm going to take it right in the middle of the slight risk. That way people know what I'm looking at. Here it is. I looked through for 3 specific things in soundings, just to simplify it. I look for energy, I look for wind shear, and I look for capping inversion. All right? Energy is self-explanatory. I look for CAPE, convective available potential energy. It's the displacement in the atmosphere between warm air rising and cold air sinking. So the more of the displacement, the more CAPE there is, and the more CAPE, the stronger the thunderstorms typically are. You typically want over 2,000 joules per kilogram in order to start assuming that storms could potentially be strong. But anything below that really doesn't really suit my fancy. So we'll go down here. We'll take a look at the CAPE, I should say. And here is CAPE right here. SFC stands for surface. So surface CAPE is 1,677. That is meh. It's okay, but I don't really anticipate a lot of strong storms. It is forecasted. FCST stands for forecast. It's forecast to be 2,457 joules per kilogram, which that's all right. That's actually over 2,000. So you have some sort of energy here. All right, you have some sort. Next, we're going to take a look at wind shear. Wind shear basically determines your tornadoes and stuff like that. All right? Just to break it down for you, I look at 3 specific things for wind shear. And it's this right here. All right? I look at the other stuff too, but for beginners that want to take a look at soundings and stuff like that, I look at this stuff right here. I look at this box right here, I look at this box, and then I look at this box. So we'll start out with these 2 boxes, and then we'll move to this box in a bit. But shear, surface to 1 kilometer, 16. I want it to typically be around 18 to 20. It's a little lacking. But it still has some decent wind shear. It's not that bad. Surface to 3 kilometer, 26. That's not bad. I want it to be around, 28 and stuff like that. But still, it's not all too bad. This is where things get a bit kind of wonky. Helicity. This is the measure of the hodograph. We're going to talk about the hodograph in a bit to further go along with our wind shear. This needs to be around 200. And unfortunately for us, it's not. It's probably because there isn't really a whole lot of wind shear and that I'm really kind of under exaggerating, you know, how much wind shear there needs to be for tornadoes. But the helicity, more or less, actually, this takes more of a priority than this does, all right? If this is ever at 200, then that's when you know you could have a chance for tornadoes. But there isn't. It's 119, so it's practically meh. It's not exactly the best. So your tornado risk isn't exactly, you know, all good to go here. But you do have a decent photograph to where it does curl off to the right. It's just very small. And in order for your helicity to get larger, your photograph needs to be larger. So that's just something to keep in mind there. Alright, so we have our wind shear aspect. Tells me it's going to be a bit more of a gusty wind and maybe hail threat. But let's take a look at the capping inversion. A lot of you wondered why there's not going to be thunderstorms. Well, capping inversion limits the atmosphere, and there's 210 of it. Just for, if you guys want to guess how much capping inversion you need in order for there, at minimum, in order for there to be, well, at maximum, I should say, for there to be thunderstorms, you need negative 60. This is almost 4 times that amount. I'm not sure about you, but that event looks dead to me. Like, no thunderstorms. None. Gone. And I just took it right in the middle of that slight risk. So, oh boy. I would say you guys have the chance for some scattered thunderstorms. The main reason they issued that slight risk, and I'll get into detail with that here, is because they found a triple point. And what that is it's basically a low pressure system that comes around and it channels energy. And the way you find triple points is kind of when this kind of curls up, the dew points curl up and then it curls off to the side again. So right here would be around a triple point, somewhere within this box. So it's basically whenever you see dew points curl up and then they curl to the right. Anywhere within when it starts to curl up and when it curls to the right when that ends, that's your triple point, and that's when you can see some thunderstorms and stuff like that. So, you know, you could see some passing thunderstorms overnight, in my honest opinion, if you guys were to get any, but not really a huge chance for some severe storms. Oh boy, I'm lagging behind. I need to pick up the pace here. All right, day 2. Day 2. Let's take a look at the precipitation. And I know I yelled at a lot of people for saying that Oklahoma is not going to have a real big risk. So let's back up my evidence, shall I? Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday evening. Bunch of general thunderstorms for the most part. You see some thunderstorms that are in central Oklahoma to eastern central Kansas. There's some thunderstorms that are over in Nebraska, but then you have a larger cluster of thunderstorms that form in Kansas, some darker ones that most likely could be severe. Then you have more thunderstorms, and boom. Your main thunderstorms are over in Kansas. I mean, then you also have a little bit of these thunderstorms down here, but let's take a sounding of that, just to see. Oh, looky. Let's go through. That's a weird sounding. Oh my goodness. Let's just forget about the sounding right now. Let's take a look at the capping and cape. All right. Your cape is all right. I mean, it's not strong. Don't have a lot of it, but you still have some. Your capping inversion, however, if you ever see a number over 60, you're in bad shape. This thing is double the amount that you are required to have at maximum. So, all the more reason why nothing will happen, for the most part. If there were things to happen, most likely be thunderstorms. You could have some bits and bobs of hail, but most likely will not happen. I want to take a sounding over this area real quickly, because, oh my goodness. Not what I wanted to do. Alright, well, let's just go back to the tornado parameter of woes. Alrighty. Let's take a sounding here. And there's a little bit over 60. Ew. Excuse me, I don't know why I have to sneeze every single video, but I do. Alright, so, bit of capping inversion here. It's over 60. And by the way, it can't be just a little over 60 and say, oh, well, it's just a little bit more capping inversion. What's the difference? No. 60 is the top. The top of the barrel here, alright? I'm literally being generous by saying 60 is the top. Usually you want around 50 or below. So the fact that it is 65 is not good. That's too much. Capping inversion makes a lot of difference, especially every negative joule per kilogram counts. Compared to cape, where if you just have 1 extra joule per kilogram, it doesn't really matter. Capping inversion matters, especially for every joule per kilogram. I'm trying to make sure I don't get another bloody nose. Alright. But yeah, the reason why they say that severe weather is likely in Kansas is because if that capping inversion does go away, which, you know, as I said, there's, 65 over here. It's kind of close, but it's not exactly close. Then, you could indeed get some, severe storms. But, it's looking less and less likely the more I look at this. Not as less likely as the stuff up in Minnesota, I'll say that much. But, yeah. This does not look all too good. Like, this is not aesthetically pleasing. Yeah. And by the way, a lot of people just use the supercell composite for stuff like the NAM. This is what the supercell composite is showing you. Alright? This is why people are saying, oh, Oklahoma's gonna go off. It's because of the supercell composite. You know, if I take a sounding here at the worst spot of the supercell composite, look at this. 183. 183. The fact that people don't look at it is just stupid. Anyways, and by the way, if something were to form off of that, you could have a pretty big chance of tornadoes. But let's put it this way, all right? You would need this capping inversion to go completely, because this kills thunderstorms completely. Whether you have them developing or they've already developed, it just kills it. Your hodograph is perfect. You have decent amount of cape. Your lapse rates are all right. Your helicity is pretty good. Your capping inversion is killing this thing. So, that's one of those things where Oklahoma itself is dodging a bullet. You could have a decent, severe weather outbreak on your hands. But unfortunately, well, actually, I should say fortunately, fortunately, there's capping inversion. So, just wanted to say that. All right, day 3. We're moving on to an event that actually is going to happen. And that is the one on Wednesday. So, Wednesday is looking all the more interesting the more I look at it. On contrary to the past 2 events that we were talking about. And I'll just take a sounding right here to prove it to you all that there is no capping inversion. We'll just go over here. Look at that. There is 0. It's also forecasted to be 2,700 joules per kilogram, so your energy is going to be at least decent. Lapse rate suffering, you would want at least 6.5 to 7 in order to say something, and your surface to 3 kilometer lapse rate is at 5. That's pretty bad. It's the same thing with capping inversion. Every point matters for lapse rates, so you need it to be around 6.5, and the fact that it is 1 degree less than that, that's kind of bad. Your shear, on the contrary, is pretty good. Look at this. This is over 200, so that checks out. The shear is over, this should be, shear's over 18, shear's over 28. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good shear there. Let's take a look at the hodograph. Look at this. Hodograph's not that bad, actually. Except for the fact that it does a loop-de-loop halfway through, but, this is actually still not all too bad. Your 0 to 1 kilometer helicity is pretty good, which means you might have some surface-based rotations compared to it being in the upper parts of the atmosphere. That's kind of telling me that it might be a little bit more of a gusty wind threat as well. But if there were to have, like, basically be some rotations, they'd be based off of the surface. They wouldn't be your typical, mothership supercell stuff like that. So that's something to keep in mind as well. And that I took that sounding over near Shreveport. Let's take another sounding, say over in Arkansas, like Pine Bluff. Same thing, basically. I mean, look at this. I'll zoom in for you all. No capping inversion, decent cape. Move over to shear real quickly. Wind shear meets all the thresholds. Pretty good. Your hodograph. As I zoom up, your hodograph is pretty good because it curls off to the right. This is a pretty good sounding. And the thing about it is, too, is that usually you want dew points. I'll add an extra feature here to you all. Dew points, you typically want them to be at around 60, so the fact that it's 67 is pretty good. It's the same thing as lapse rates or capping. Every degree matters, and the fact that it is 67 means it's pretty moist. So, and we'll take one final sounding in north central Mississippi, and that is a pretty strong sounding right here. Yeah, that is pretty strong here. You have your dew points, which are in the 60s, mid 60s, so that's not bad. Your capping inversion is pretty good. You have -3, which is really good. Your cape, it's forecast to be 2,000, so not too big a deal about that. Your lapse rates lack a little bit. They're at the 6.1 to 6.2 vicinity, so it's not all too strong, but it just looks at updrafts for mainly hail, not exactly tornadoes. This actually smashes the required threshold. Look at this. 504 for helicity, 43 and 59. That's almost double or even triple some of these amounts. So, yeah, that's pretty good. And the hodograph, this is what I mean by having a stronger helicity. When this hodograph loops around like this, that's when you can start to see some stronger storms, maybe even some better structure. So, northern Mississippi, overnight, late afternoon to overnight, you guys could really start to see this ramp up. I'm going to watch this area very closely. On Wednesday, I might live stream. I'm actually going to plan to live stream all the major events that I think will be detrimental. So basically anything that has a 5% chance of tornadoes or above, you can bet me to stream. You can count on me to live stream, I should say. So that's really something to monitor here. Alright, last thing here. I won't actually get into the SIPS model this video because we're running a pretty much long video. We're at 28 minutes here. So we'll just get into what's happening on Thursday and leave it at that. So Thursday, across the board, there's some pretty interesting severe weather. Northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, into northern Georgia, as well as into Tennessee. Those areas could definitely see some severe weather. Take a sounding here, and it doesn't exactly look as tornadic as it did before, so that is the good news. But it's starting, as you start to move a bit further east, it looks a bit more tornadic. I'll take a sounding in Texas real quickly, and the photograph isn't exactly the best. If you take a look, no capping, bunch of cape, actually gets up to 3,000 joules per kilogram in one spot. Your shear is all right, but your helicity lacks a bit, although your helicity is getting a lot better. So the closer you get to 200, or if you actually get over 200, the more likely it will be for you to get some severe storms. However, I do want to make this prediction right now. I took this over on the border of Texas and Louisiana, and I'm going to say this right now. Massive hail threat for Thursday over there in that vicinity. Massive hail threat. And it's not even close, because look at these lapse rates here, all right? Some are in the 7s, but this one right here, surface to 3 kilometer lapse rate, 9.4. Anytime it gets into the 9, that's when you can expect a widespread hail threat, all right? Maybe even some massive hail. Your dew points also, whenever you see this spike up like this, that's when you know that you can also get some large hail as well. So the fact that there is stuff like that happening, yeah, massive hail. I would not be surprised if we saw some in upwards of 2, 3, maybe even 4 inches. But you have to remember, that's a hailstone, all right? More or less, it's going to be sporadic with around 1-inch size hail rather than some others. So for Thursday, basically the overview is that Texas is going to be in a hail threat. So from Houston and Killeen, Austin, stuff like that, those general vicinities will get some hail. As you start to head further into places like Monroe, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, maybe even Georgia in some spots, the risk starts to become a lot less of a hail threat, more or less a gusty wind threat. Although if you are from Nashville and east, you guys might have a small chance of some tornadic activity, but it will most likely be some gusty winds. So, that's the reason why I said northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, northern Georgia, northern Tennessee. I might actually exclude northern Georgia now from being in the main tornado risk. And then I'll add Texas and Louisiana here. This general vicinity, I'll actually move over. I'll move the map over here for you. Ugh, disgusting. Anyways, I'll move it over here for you. This general vicinity right here could see some large hail. Large hail. I'm counting on it. I'm counting on there to be large hail. Actually, I think it'll be more or less large hail in this general vicinity right here. So I even take a sounding right here at this 19. Lapse rates aren't that big. So, I mean, it's all right. But your large hail will most likely be in the afternoon to evening. So more or less around like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, something like that. Anyways, that's basically going to be it for me. I know this is a long video. We're heading on to 34 minutes. So if you guys did enjoy it, please be sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're new. Turn on notifications. Share this with friends and family. As I said, most likely could be live streaming on Wednesday as well as Thursday. If anything different happens tomorrow, I probably will live stream. Maybe. Possibly. I live stream most events anyways, so yeah, that's kind of my thing. I do that a whole lot better than these videos, I'll tell you that. So, yep. Follow me on social media. Share this with friends and family on social media. And my name is Nate. I also go by Hockey Boy Nate, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.